the chaplain please come forward?
You are now at the altar of the Order of the Sons of Union Veterans of the Civil War for obligation, and I assure you that in taking this obligation, it will not conflict with any duty you may have owe your God, your country, or yourself. If you are willing to proceed, you will place your left hand on the Bible.
I'm supposed to be on that side.
You will now grasp the standard of the flag with your right hand. You will say, "I," pronounce your name and repeat after me.
I, Gage, Sacco,
In the presence of the great Creator,
in the presence of the great Creator,
and witnessing members of this camp,
at witnessing members of this camp,
hereby,
hereby,
voluntarily and solemnly,
voluntarily and solemnly,
pledge myself
pledge myself
to support and defend
to support and defend
the government
the government
of the United States of
of the
America,
United States of America,
to offer my life,
to offer my life,
if need be,
if need be,
to preserve the flag
to preserve the flag
from being lowered in defeat,
from being lowered in defeat,
to always observe the day
to always observe the day
set aside
set aside
by the Grand Army of the Republic
by the Grand Army of the Republic
as Memorial Day,
as Memorial Day,
sacred to the memory
sacred to the memory
of the Union soldiers and sailors
of the Union soldiers and sailors
of 1861 to 1865,
of 1861 to 1865,
and do all in my power
and do all of my power
to persuade others
to persuade others
to do the same,
to do the same,
to be faithful
to be faithful,
in all duties of citizenship,
all duties of citizenship,
to be obedient
to be obedient
to the law of the land,
of the law of the land,
to obey the Constitution
to obey the Constitution
and regulations of this order,
of the regulations of the order,
and to promote actively
and to promote actively
its objects and interests,
its objects and interests,
always and everywhere.
always and everywhere.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I will now show you the badge of our order. The inscription, Sons of Union Veterans of the Civil War, reminds us of our high estate and our duty to our country. We are Sons of Union Veterans. May we prove ourselves worthy of this title. The ribbon is a union of red, white, and blue, the colors of our country's flag. The red signifies the unstinted streams of blood shed that the blessings of a free government might be of our heritage, and that our blood is pledged to preserve the freedoms and responsibilities we so gladly received. The blue tells us that the true faith and allegiance which our forefathers held to their country and to each other, and charging us to be mindful of their example. The white represents peace, which with honor may our country always enjoy. The motto, preserved by the grace of God, reminds us that without the overruling hand of an all-wise providence, the sacrifices of our forefathers could have afforded nothing, and that God's favor alone can secure the preservation of our liberties. So you pin the badge.
Would you like to finish that?
Sure. Sorry.
Yeah, rolls down. pops out.
There we go.
It's adult proof.
I'm assuming it's this side. Okay. I'll try not to, I'll try not to get you killed. There you go.
May you wear your badge long and proudly, and may it always be a guiding star to you in the discharge of your duties in private life as a son of Union veterans of the Civil War. Whenever the United States flag is passing or being passed in a formal manner, as on parade, members of the Sons of Union Veterans of the Civil War, not in military uniform, will salute the flag by removing their cap or hat. The headdress being held in the right hand opposite the left shoulder, right forearm against the breast. When not wearing a head cover, the right hand will be placed over the heart. This will not apply when the flag is flying from the staff, but only when supported by a color bearer. When giving the Pledge of Allegiance, stand with right hand over the heart. On all occasions when the national anthem, Star Spangled Banner, is being played or sung, members of the Sons of Union Veterans of the Civil War should stand at attention, with hat or cap removed. When seeking admission into a camp of Sons of Union Veterans of the Civil War, in case the camp is in session, you will present your dues card or receipt for dues to the guard at the door when he responds to knock of the 3 raps at the door. On being admitted, you will approach the altar and salute the commander. And on return of the salute, you will take your seat. On rising to speak, you will salute and say commander. And in crossing the floor, you will always pass in the rear of the altar. 1 rap calls the camp to order and seats the same when standing. 2 raps calls the officers and staff to their feet. 3 raps calls the entire camp. If deep in your heart there lives the love of freedom and of patriotic devotion to the principles and institutions for which your forefather fought, then no personal danger, no selfish consideration can quench the love and make you disloyal to the flag of the United States of America. Let us then entwine each thread of its glorious fabric around our hearts, catching the spirit that breathes upon us the battles and the victories of America's sons. Let us resolve that now and forever we will stand for that flag and the principles and institutions it symbolizes. It has waved over our cradles. Let us make the high resolve that, unchained and unstained, as it came from the lands of our fathers, it shall wave over our graves. Guide, you will conduct the candidate to the Secretary's desk to sign the camp's membership book, present him again to the station. Officers and brothers, I take great pleasure in introducing Brother Gage Sacco, bound to us by the sacred ties of fraternity, charity, and loyalty. Let us give him a brotherly welcome.
Okay.
Gage, a son of Union Veterans of the Civil War. This will certify that Gage Aaron Sacco, born in Scranton, in the state of Pennsylvania, was duly mastered into the Sons of Union Veterans of the Civil War at Scranton, in the state of Pennsylvania, and that he is now a brother in good standing in Lieutenant Ezra S. Griffin, Camp Number 8, Department of Pennsylvania, located in Scranton. In witness whereof, the names of proper officers given at Scranton, in the state of Pennsylvania. This says July 12th. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's because that's technically in the year of 2021. Welcome to the camp.
Thank you.
Okay. You just hold it up for the
If you could tell me, what General Grant's most personal problem was during the war?
Drink.
great general. He won the war for us. But what was his great personal problem?
Yeah, rumor has he was an alcoholic.
He was an
That's what
alcoholic.
rumor has.
That's
I didn't
right.
know.
Rumor has it that he has an
I didn't know firsthand.
Didn't he have fits of depression?
Yes. Yeah. But that came and went. But the alcohol thing was something that just seems to be hanging over him. And I thought I'd look into it a little bit more and make a presentation of it. And the presentation really focuses in on a man whose name is Major General John Rawlings. Anybody ever hear of him? Major General John Rawlings. Now he's a principal character in the life of Ulysses S. Grant, and I had never heard of him before until I began reading about him, and I thought it might be something interesting to explore a little bit, and put the idea of his drinking in some kind of a perspective. Okay. Major General John Rawlings was a general officer in the Union Army during the Civil War. And he was a cabinet member of President Grant's administration. He was the Secretary of War during Grant's administration. He was a longtime confidant during the war, and he rose to the rank of Brevet Major General and Grant's chief defender against allegations of insobriety. It was Rawlins who persuaded Grant to join the local militia in Galena, Illinois, where both of them had lived. And Rawlins was a lawyer, and at the time, Grant had resigned his commission after being in the Mexican War. And what Rawlins did was to persuade him to train a group of militia and how to march and discipline and so on. And so he was responsible for getting him back to be recommissioned in the Civil War. At the same time, Rawlins also joined the Union Army as a captain. From this time forward, he remained with Grant and became his most influential staff officer, advisor, and his closest friend throughout the Civil War. As Grant rose in rank, so did Rawlins. He was noted for his great attention to detail, as well as being a stickler for the proper protocol. Just before joining Grant's staff, he extracted a pledge from him. He knew that he had a history related to alcohol. And he asked him to take a pledge not to drink during the war. He agreed to this, and he forbid the use of alcohol at headquarters, and a year after joining the staff, signed a pledge himself. Rawlins signed a pledge not to drink himself. Rawlins frequently scolded Grant for the perceived derelictions of the pledge, and he did it with impunity that often surprised the onlookers, and that would be, of course, the members of the staff. During the Chattanooga campaign in November of 1863, Grant was alleged to have been drinking excessively among the generals and the subordinates on his staff. They were drinking whiskey and a bottle of wine received from Grant's mother. Rawlins heard of this and he wrote Grant a letter, which he never received. It demanded that Grant immediately desist from further tasting of liquors of any kind. Rollins' concerns were unfounded, however. According to General David Hunter, who was on Grant's staff, who had observed Grant during this period of time, and he stated that Grant had only 3 drinks in 3 weeks. It was reported that Grant had actually broken up a drinking party among his officers at 4 o'clock in the morning. Rollins kept this unsent letter in his records, where it was later found by historians, and this unsent letter was one of several items which created the impression that Grant routinely drank to excess. In this letter, which Grant never saw, Rollins wrote, and I quote, "I found you where the wine bottle has been emptied, in the company of those who drink, and urge you not to do likewise." Rollins noted that this advice was heeded, and all went well with him, thus proving that Grant was not impaired by drink when his decision making was critical. That he was not impaired by drink when his decision making was critical. In his memoirs, written before his death, Grant only mentioned Rollins a few times and essentially ignored their personal and professional relationships. Surviving members of Grant's staff were outraged at the fact that Grant would snub someone who had been so useful and so loyal to him as Rollins had been, even to his death. The most likely explanation for this is given by historian E.B. Long, who wrote, quote, "It might be that Grant did not wish to praise Rollins too profusely because of the current reports picturing Rollins as the protector of Grant from his own bad habits." It's just another look at the situation, and to think that this man almost devoted his life to Grant. He was a very strict disciplinarian, and he followed the things by the book. And he was not afraid to face Grant directly and scold him if he broke the law. It kind of gives you a little bit of relief, I guess, in thinking about, did he make decisions when he was drunk to have thousands upon thousands of men go to their death? And kind of gives you another look at it that might be a little bit acceptable. After that, Rollins was noted for a few things. Among them was, while he was Secretary of War, he supported the insurrection of Cuba around 1869, when Cuba wanted its freedom from Spain. Rollins wanted to provide him with economic help, and even to military help if necessary. But he was overruled on it. He didn't do that at all. And he was also noted for giving approval for the building of the Brooklyn Bridge. There was an argument between the two parties, the builders and the men who used the boats on the river. And the argument was, should the bridge be 140 feet high or 150? He decided it should be 145 and approved the building of the Brooklyn Bridge. Just a couple of things he was involved in. He eventually died of an illness that he had for a long time, which was tuberculosis. And he died while he was Secretary of War for Grant. And that, my friends, is my report. And I hope that it gives you a little bit more hope that he did not make critical decisions during the war.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
You're welcome.